Well, I didn't know I was going to do this for a few nights in a row, but I've had a few questions asked after my last couple of videos. He's being flown back as we speak right now. I believe the last report that I read, he was in Montana somewhere. He's being flown by small aircraft. So they're doing a lot of refueling. He'll be in Montana or Idaho tonight, and he'll be arraigned tomorrow. Someone during one of the interviews made a comment that he won't go to court that fast tomorrow, but he will be arraigned pretty quickly. That's part of the constitutional rights to a speedy trial. He'll go to arraignment. He already has a public defender assigned to him. Her name was released, I believe, yesterday on one of the news releases. The magistrate judge has also issued a gag order on all investigators, everybody involved in this whole thing. They have a gag order. They're not allowed to talk to the media. They're not allowed to release any information at all, which is a smart move. The less information that gets out on the street, the less the court system, the less will be tainted. And jury selections and everything else will be going on throughout this trial. It's going to take a while. So a lot of the people who are upset that the information is not being released fast enough, slow down. We're not part of the investigation. We're just the morbid curious that want to know what happened and why. The other people who want to know is a lot of them have fears. They're hoping this is the individual. They're hoping there's not a individual out there that's still very dangerous. They're hoping that this is the guy. They're hoping they caught him and their danger is over. I believe it is. I can't say that this guy is guilty or not, but I believe with the media hype and everything else, there's nothing, people there are safe. I had a family member ask me about their students. A lot of parents brought their students back home, and they wouldn't let them go back to school after that. There's a lot of things you can do to secure your college-age student when they live in the dorms, they live in a residence, or they're sharing apartments, whatever it is. When you go there to their residence, check the striker plates. Pull the screws out. A lot of times builders will just put the stock screws that came from the strike plates. It takes, I believe it's 2 kicks at 8 joules to kick a door open with a stock plate on there. If you put an aftermarket plate with 3-inch screws, it takes 16, and double the hits just to try to open the door. So you're doubling the strength of that door just by replacing the strike plates with the secure plates. They're the ones that have both the doorknob and the deadbolt lock on one with 3-inch screws. Teach your kids, don't go out alone. Don't go out at night. Stay off social media. Don't report your status of where you're at. If your student is in the library studying, don't report that. Don't put it on social media like, oh, I'm here bored out of my guts. I hate this. Because if somebody is stalking your student, they're going to know where they're at. If they do it at that moment, if they're live or they post it right now, whoever's stalking them is going to know they're in the library. It's 11 o'clock at night. Don't do that. Just if you want to post things on the internet, do it after you're done. Don't report on the internet where you're going. Don't say where you're at the time. Turn off all your location device. Anything that's going to get your location found, turn it off. Make sure the kids don't have those things. Try not to travel alone. If you're going to study at the library, take somebody else with you if they have to study too. If not, try to figure a way out you can study in your room just to be safe. Don't go down dark one-way alleys. I don't care how small the town is. It doesn't matter. You have the same elements no matter where you go. So it's a dark time. I'm sorry, but if any of you guys remember Mayberry, those days are over. You can't leave your doors unlocked. You can't send your kids out until 11, 12 o'clock at night. Those days are over, and we got to be safe. We've got to, especially women. I've seen a lot of protests about women's rights and everything else, and I am right there next to them. But the attack on women is real, and it's here, and I wish it wasn't. But there are things we can do to prevent it. There are things we can do to fight it. Is it fair? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But ladies, be safe. Watch who's around you. Watch who's following you. Stay off social media. That's the way to make yourself safe from predators like this. And speaking of that, we'll get back into him. They talked about it being a crime of passion. Well, some of the injuries on the students, we got a really quick blurb of some of the injuries that happened. One of the fathers made a comment. Was it a crime of passion? We'll find out when the rest of the evidence really does come out. With 4 people being stabbed, the DNA that came out, according to CNN, Police One, I believe it was New York Times, they all reported that the DNA and genealogy, that technology is what helped them locate this individual. And so with that being said, he had to have cut himself. Something happened. When you got 4 individuals who were stabbed to death, most people who use a knife in a crime like that, they cut themselves. The body fluids make the knife slick. You can't have a good grip on it. We don't have the knife, so we don't know what type of knife it was. They'll be able to find out what type of wounds the type of knife from the wounds. They'll know what it is, but they won't have the weapon unless he did something with it. And I saw a report on that where somebody was believing if he was stupid enough, he kept it, which we would hope. Now, we'll find out, like I said, more about the crime of passion when the evidence starts coming out, because there was enough evidence to get an arrest warrant with nationwide extradition and to get the feds involved. So we know that there's enough evidence there. Somebody made the comment about the affidavit of probable cause, where they believe that he waived his extradition so he could hurry up and come back to Idaho to see what the charges were, and so he could start fighting against it and prove his innocence, because he totally believes him to be exonerated. Well, he was told when the SWAT team arrested him, you're under arrest. And then when he's brought out to the vehicles, the detectives informed him of his rights. He was told what his charges were. He was taken to the jail. Again, he was told what his charges were. When he went in for his extradition hearing, he was told what his charges were. He knew what all charges against him was. He just doesn't have access to the evidence yet. His attorneys will, which he'll have that. That's part of the system. So when he gets to Idaho, Idaho does not release the affidavit of probable cause until the suspect is in the state, in the county that they allegedly committed the crime, and they're housed in the jail. Then the affidavit of probable cause will be released, probably on a statement through the news media. Well, they'll give the information to the lawyers and him first, and then the rest of us will get that information. So with the affidavit of probable cause, that's how it's going to happen. So we should be able to see that in the next couple of days. Somebody mentioned about the traffic stops. There's 2 of them, I believe. One was the FBI and one was a state police officer, and we saw the video of the state trooper. It was for tailgating, and you could see the nervousness of the driver. Like I said, I'm not using his name, but you can see the nervousness in him when he's talking to the police. He was chatty. He was really trying to get this, be your friend. I was involved in domestic violence investigations. I was on the domestic violence sexual assault task force for about 25 years. And we had a lot of suspects that when we would show up to a residence and investigate domestic violence, they wanted to be our friend. They did everything they could to be our friend. They would help us, talk to us, get really chatty and get involved in it. And that's just a way of throwing us off. They think that they're outsmarting us and they're directing us in the way they want us to go. They're trying to control our thoughts, and that's not how it works. I used to like steering a lot, where make them feel like they're steering, but I'm the actual control. I'm the one steering the way I want it to go. And that's not coercion, that's not talking them into something, that's just steering them into telling me what they know. So the traffic stop, somebody said that people will never tell you, I was pulled over earlier today and this is what happened. And sure they do. Do it all the time. I've actually had people pull their warning citations out and put them at me and say, I just got pulled over 10 minutes ago. And they show me the warning ticket. I'm like, well, you didn't learn your lesson 10 minutes ago. So yeah, we have lots of people that do that. It's not uncommon for them to explain, I just got pulled over for the same thing, or I got pulled over in another state, or I got, whatever it is. It's not uncommon. It's not a conversation piece that everybody likes to do, but it happens. So another thing was the jail itself. I guess, I don't know why they care about this, but the media brought up the point that he's a vegan and they were trying to feed him vegan foods. Well, how's he get the vegan food in the jail? Well, he does. The jail takes care of you just like any institution, with a hospital or anything. If you have a peanut allergy, you have allergies to foods, or you have a special diet, you're a diabetic, whatever it is, when you go to the jail, they will feed you the diet that you require. And if he's a vegan, they will feed him vegan foods. It's just the way it is. Just like with allergies and everything else, they'll feed you that. So he's going to get his vegan meals if that's what he truly is. The other thing is they say is a small town jail going to be good enough to hold this individual? He's not a superhero. This jail is very well equipped. It is up to date. It is modernized with all of the equipment in there. He will not walk out of that jail. When they transport him from the jail to the courthouse to have his hearings, he will be transported by a group of people. He will be secured. He's not walking away. Nobody's going to get to him. So that's not a concern. The jail itself isn't a concern. And the way that they're going to treat him in that jail is the exact way they're going to treat every other inmate there. His housing unit will all depend on the classification they put him out. They have a classification form they're going to read, and they're going to classify him by level of crime, his criminal history, what he's involved in, everything else. That will mark him down and say this is where he's going to go. With this individual being such a high-profile suspect in that small town, there will be locals in the jail. They may just put him in a special housing unit, which will just be, he'll be separated from everyone else for a while until things start moving. So yeah, he's going to be secured in there. It's nothing crazy. Some of the other things that was mentioned was some of the protections that we need to have. And I mentioned some of this earlier when I talked about the how to secure your college student and things you need to watch for. Situational awareness is a huge thing. Keep your eyes open. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Pay attention to people. Pay attention to weird, quirky things that you're not used to. If something happens in your life and it doesn't look right and it wasn't part of it in the past, then it's different in your life. Pay attention to it. But teach your students social media is the big thing. Keep them off of social media until they're home or back in their dorm. Don't announce your location. Don't go live when you're away from a secure environment. And if you're going to travel together if you can. I understand that there's late night studies. College is college. There's just a lot of studying and late night studies, and sometimes you just want to be by yourself. That's fine. If you are by yourself, and if you're in the library and you got a ways to go back to your either dorm or your hotel or your apartment, contact campus security or local police department and say, look, I need help. I need to get back to my room, and I'm a little spooked. I know Idaho State University, living here, I used to work in Bannock County, so the campus police would come by and give you a ride. Sometimes they had somebody on a little golf cart that would swing by that would give you a ride back to your dorm room or your housing area. If you're spooked and you don't want to be alone, that's the best way of doing it. So one thing is women. I hate what you have to do. I absolutely despise it. You should not have to be afraid to go out. You should not have to be afraid to be alone. You should not have to do those things, but you do. Evil is out there, and evil is here to stay. But what we can do is we can do things to prevent it. We can stay with other people. We can not go to crowded area or uncrowded, quiet areas, off the beaten path, dark alleyways, dark locations. Don't go places you know is dangerous. If you have to go to those locations, don't go alone. Take somebody with you. A lot of times these self-defense classes, if you have a lot of campuses will have a self-defense class. It's a 4-hour course that'll teach you something on self-defense, but the problem with that is after 4 hours, it's just like a new gun owner. They'll go buy a firearm, they'll strap it to their hip, they'll walk out of the gun store and say, I'm safe, I'm good to go. And that's just not true. Most of the time they'll get themselves hurt. Train some more. If you want to be self-sufficient at protecting yourself, get the training and practice that training. if you're going to go into martial arts, if you're going to MMA, if you're going to get into knife fighting, if you're going to get into firearms, you get these things, you find a good instructor, you follow them, you learn, and you practice, and you just keep up on your practices. There's not a single martial artist out there that can say, yep, I went to a 4-hour course and now I'm a world champion. It's taken them 20 years to learn that stuff. There are other arts or other forms of fighting you can learn in less time and be proficient at it in less time, but you have to continue with the practice. Just like firearms. If you get a firearm and you stand there and you shoot a paper target and you're like, I'm good at it, I can hit the bullseye every single time, that's great. But now can you have the mindset? Are you able to move and shoot? Are you able to shoot under stress? Are you able to put yourself in those positions where I'm laying on my back, I'm sitting in a chair, I have to move to cover, I'm shooting from behind a barricade, and I'm scared to death? Can I do that? I have to have the mindset to protect myself. I know a lot of people have come through my classes and they've told me, they said, I own a gun, I wanted to do it to protect myself, but I don't know. I don't know if I can. And they're unsure if they can actually use it to protect themselves or others. That takes a mindset. That takes a lot of practice. You have to get that mindset. Our main job as any instructor out there is to make sure that the blood stays where it belongs, and that you're morally, financially, and legally safe. That's our biggest goal. Is I want you to go home and be safe with it. So if you have any questions, again, like I said in my other videos, ask me. I will answer them. I've contacted a few on-duty detectives and a couple of attorneys, and we're getting our heads together. And once this court thing starts, we're going to start giving you as much information as we can on how the system is going to work, and what information they release to us. We'll try to get that information out to you to let you know what's going on. I'm going to, for right now, I'm probably going to slow a little bit on these. I'll give a little bit of information on that I get on these, but I'm going to start really pushing more. I'm going to keep putting videos out on self-reliance, how to protect yourself, how to make your home more secure, how to get that plan to make yourself and your loved ones safe. So be safe, be vigilant, and always be aware. Have a good night. Thanks.